All right. So have you ever heard of a gas station attendant, like retiring with millions, $8 million to be exact?
Wow.
Yeah. And not from winning the lottery or anything like that. No inheritance, nothing. He just like quietly built this fortune.
Really?
Yeah, Ronald, right. His story is, well, it's kind of crazy. We're going to talk about him. And also this Harvard grad, Richard, who's got a totally different financial picture going on. And that's actually what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We're jumping into the psychology of money, the juiciest bits from the book.
We're intrigued.
Yeah, yeah. And the big takeaway, I mean, it's not like you have to know some kind of secret formula or something. It's way simpler than that. It's really about your money mindset, like the psychology behind like how you handle money, how you think about wealth, all that.
That's what I find so captivating about this whole topic. The way it immediately, dismantles all those preconceived notions we have about wealth.
Yeah.
We tend to automatically think fancy cars, prestigious degrees, that sort of thing. But then you have Ronald's story, and it just totally flips the script.
Dude, I know, right? It's like, wait a minute. Have we been thinking about this whole money thing wrong this entire time?
Wow.
7 key insights, kind of like psychological hacks almost, to help, rewire our brains when it comes to money.
Okay.
So first up, and this one's huge. It basically says that, look, nobody's crazy when it comes to money.
Yeah.
We all see it through the lens of our own experiences. Like, they give this example as about how someone views the stock market, right?
Oh.
Whether they think it's rigged or like the golden ticket, you know what I mean? Like whatever they believe about it, it's heavily influenced by the economic climate that they grew up in.
Right.
So let's say you experienced a recession firsthand, when you were younger. You might be way more cautious than someone who rode a bull market their entire life.
Yeah.
Totally different experiences.
It really highlights, for me, the importance of, self-awareness, right? Recognizing those personal biases we all carry.
Oh, totally.
Because, we carry these unconscious beliefs, often based on our past experiences. And recognizing those biases, I think it's absolutely crucial if you want to start making sound financial decisions.
It's so true. It's like that saying, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are.
100%.
Okay, so takeaway number 2. This one is all about finding that sweet spot. So you don't want to be ruled by cold, hard logic all the time. But on the other hand, you also don't want to just throw caution to the wind and make super emotional decisions about your money either.
Right. You got to find that middle ground.
Exactly. They call it reasonable optimism.
Oh.
Okay, and to illustrate this, they tell this story about John. So John bought Apple stock back in 2007. Bad timing, right? Right before the market crashed.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and most people, let's be honest, they would have panicked, immediately sold everything.
For sure.
But not John. John held on. He had this longer term vision. He saw the potential there beyond just this immediate crisis.
Wow.
And well, I think it's safe to say that John is probably doing all right for himself these days.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Right. Apple stock, good choice, John.
That's a perfect example of the power of thinking long term, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Because it's so tempting to react emotionally to every little market swing, But true success, lasting success, I think it often means weathering those storms and sticking to your strategy.
I love that, weathering the storm, because it's so true. It's about having that vision, and the patience to see it through.
Exactly.
All right, now this next takeaway, this one really spoke to me, and I have a feeling it's going to resonate with a lot of people listening. It's about, get this, it's about the constant chase for more.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
But we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
If I could just get that bigger house, that nicer car, that whatever it is, then I'll be happy. But it's never ending, is it?
It's a never-ending cycle.
Mike, as an example. Mike's always striving, he's always reaching for that next level of material possessions, bigger, better, all that. But here's the thing, it never brings him lasting satisfaction.
It's like the saying, the hedonic treadmill.
It's so true, though. I feel like we've all been Mike at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this really speaks to a fundamental question, and it's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
Yeah.
What truly defines enough?
Right. That's a good question.
Because it's easy to fall into the comparison trap, right?
Yeah.
We start comparing ourselves to others, looking at what they have. But contentment, true contentment, it comes from defining what matters most to us, and then, aligning our financial goals with those values.
Not somebody else's values.
Yeah.
I'm going to get philosophical on you here for a second, but there's that quote, comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh, I love that quote.
It's so true, right? We end up chasing someone else's version of success instead of like stopping and figuring out what truly matters to us.
It's easy to get caught up in that.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
All right, takeaway number 4. This one's a bit of a mind bender. You ready for this?
Hit me with it.
Okay, so it's about the difference, the contrast between building wealth and then like maintaining it, preserving it. So think about it. The actions that got you to a certain level of wealth, they're often not the same actions that will help you hold on to it.
Interesting.
Right.
I've never thought about it like that.
Like, it's like this, getting rich. That might involve taking like big risks, being opportunistic, seizing the moment, but staying rich, that requires a whole different skill set.
Like what?
Like, it's about being, and I love this phrase, financially unbreakable, planning for those inevitable mistakes we all make.
Right.
And practicing what they call, and this is key, I think, sensible optimism.
Sensible optimism. I like that. So it's like you're optimistic, but you're also realistic about it.
Exactly.
You're not being reckless.
Not just throwing money at every good idea that comes along.
You're thinking things through.
Exactly. It's about being smart with your money, but also not letting fear hold you back.
Right.
Finding that balance.
I like it. I like it a lot. What's fascinating to me is this idea of a mental shift.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, it's like switching gears from, say, a speedboat to a cargo ship.
Okay.
Both powerful in their own right. Both can get you where you need to go. But they operate very, very differently.
Oh, that's a really good analogy. So we're talking about this shift, right? Going from like chasing wealth, hustling to build it, to then, okay, now I've got to hold on to this. How do I make it last?
Yeah.
It's like the difference between, and then setting up camp at the summit, right? Totally different skill sets.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Because it's true, right? Like securing your campsite at the top of that mountain, it takes different skills than the climb itself.
Yeah.
Than getting to the top. And it's the same with wealth, right?
Right.
Staying wealthy.
Yeah.
Different than the actions it took to get you there.
Totally. Okay, so talk to me more about this whole sensible optimism thing. What does that even look like, in real life? Is it just like being cautiously optimistic? Is that what it is?
It's more about, I think, acknowledging that none of us have a crystal ball, right?
Yeah.
We can make plans, informed decisions. We can think about the future. But life happens. Yeah. Curveballs, right? They can make you fast. Sensible optimism means you're ready for those curveballs. You've thought about it, but you're not letting fear, totally paralyze you.
So you're saying it's about being strategic, but also being adaptable.
100%. Now get this. This next takeaway. Bit of a curveball itself.
Oh, okay. I love a good plot twist. Lay it on me.
You can mess up big time, make mistakes, and still be incredibly successful.
Wait, really? Okay, I got to hear more about this. Tell me everything.
So it gives this example of Heinz Berggruen. He was an art dealer.
Okay.
And get this, he bought a ton of art, like a crazy amount.
Okay.
And no surprise, not all of it was, a masterpiece. Some of it, duds, total flops.
Sure.
But the wins, the pieces that hit it big, they more than made up for any miscalculations along the way.
So it's about not being afraid to take those risks, even if it means, striking out sometimes.
Exactly. And think about it. Even the most successful people, right? Investors, entrepreneurs, artists, doesn't matter. They all make mistakes. It's part of the game. The important thing is you learn from it, you adapt, and you don't let that fear of messing up hold you back.
That's actually incredibly reassuring, because it's like none of us are perfect. We're all going to make mistakes.
Right.
It kind of takes the pressure off needing to be right all the time.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's bring it back to Ronald for a second.
Okay, yeah.
Our gas station millionaire, right? I'm still stuck on that one. What's his secret? What's his secret sauce?
So remember how we were talking about that shift, right?
Yeah.
From a speedboat to the cargo ship.
Yeah.
Ronald's a cargo ship all the way. His story. It's all about the power of slow, steady, consistent action.
Okay, so it's about the long game, not like some get-rich-quick scheme.
100%. He didn't win the lottery. He won by being consistent.
Yeah.
Saving diligently no matter what he was making. Get classic tortoise and the hare, except in this case, it's slow and steady wins the wealth-building race.
Consistency is key. Got it. But here's the thing, right? Life. Totally unpredictable. What about that saying, the best laid plans? You know how it goes.
Okay. Often go awry.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's actually a perfect segue into our final takeaway. So it really emphasizes this point. We change, our circumstances change, right?
Yeah.
Life changes. And trying to like perfectly plan out your entire financial life decades in advance, that's like trying to predict the weather a year from now. It's impossible.
It's an exercise in futility, really.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what's the alternative? What do we do? How do we plan for a future that feels like constantly in flux?
Well, I think it's about finding that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Planning, yes, of course. But flexibility is just as important. Make the best decisions you can right now with what you know right now, but be open to change.
Right.
Life throws you a curveball. You got to be able to adapt. Like, adjust your sails when the wind changes.
That makes a lot of sense. Being prepared, but not rigid, not like stuck, you know?
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these 7 psychological insights, these money hacks. I like to think of them as like little cheats for our brains. But how do we actually put this stuff into practice? Like, where do we even begin?
I think it all starts with self-awareness.
Right.
Remember how we were talking about, everyone's got that money story? Yeah.
Well, it's time to figure out what yours is. What's your story with money?
Okay, I'm into it. So how do we actually, do that? Like, how do we figure out these deep-seated beliefs that we have around money?
It's like, think back to your childhood, right? Your family. What were their financial habits? What messages did you get about money growing up? Like, were you taught to save for a rainy day, or were you always told money doesn't grow on trees? Because those early experiences, they really shape our financial outlook, often without us even realizing it.
So we're financial archaeologists now? Dusting off artifacts from our past to figure out our relationship with money in the present?
I like that. Yeah, 100%. So once you've you've unearthed those beliefs, the next step is to actually examine them. Like, are they still serving you, or are they outdated? Maybe they're holding you back from really reaching your full potential, financially speaking.
It's not just about where we came from. It's about consciously choosing where we want to go. Yes, 100%. We can challenge those old scripts. We can rewrite them so they align with, who we are now, what we value, what our goals are. Maybe you were raised to believe that investing is super risky and scary.
Yeah, that was it for me growing up.
But now you're ready to explore it. You're curious. That's
Yes.
all it takes, just that little spark.
It's about taking control, taking the reins, becoming the author of our own financial stories. I love that.
Yes, exactly. Now, once you've kind of started to reframe that relationship with money, it's time to actually put those insights into action.
Okay. Yeah.
And remember, Ronald, remember what we learned.
Consistency.
Bingo. That's where a budget comes in.
Ugh, the B word. No one likes talking about budgets.
Now, before you totally tune me out, hear me out for a second.
Yeah.
Budgets, they don't have to be this restrictive, joyless spreadsheet.
No.
No, think of it as your financial roadmap, right? It's a tool. It's there to help you reach your destination.
Okay. I can get down with the roadmap analogy. It's less about deprivation, right? And more about making conscious choices that are actually aligned with what we're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Because a budget, it helps you track your spending, figure out where you might be able to save a little, maybe free up some resources so you can actually invest in the things that light you up, that matter to you.
Yeah, so it's about aligning our spending with our values, not just mindlessly swiping our credit card and hoping for the best.
100%. Speaking of investing,
Oh boy, here we go.
that's the next step in our little wealth building journey, right?
Investing can feel kind of intimidating, It's like entering this whole new world with its own language, its own rules. It can feel very overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, you're not alone in feeling that way. But here's the thing. You don't have to become a financial expert overnight. Start by educating yourself. Little by little, there are so many resources out there. Websites, podcasts, you know this. Books, everything. All geared towards making investing feel accessible, maybe even, dare I say, enjoyable.
So I don't need to memorize the entire Wall Street Journal tomorrow.
No, definitely not. Just start with the basics. Understand what stocks are, bonds, that sort of thing. Learn about diversification. That's a big one. Not putting all your eggs in one basket. Just take it one step at a time.
What about seeking out some guidance? Just talking to a financial advisor. Is that something that do you have to be a millionaire already to even think about doing that? Or
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Think of a financial advisor as a guide, they're there to help you navigate all those complexities of the market and to help you create a plan that actually makes sense for your specific situation.
So it's like having a personal trainer, but for your finances.
There you go. They're there to cheer you on, to help hold you accountable.
I like it. Okay, so now let's talk about those three principles for staying wealthy. We talked about it earlier. Being financially unbreakable, leaving room for error, and that whole sensible optimism thing.
Right, right.
All of that feels really important, especially when it comes to, investing and all that.
Absolutely. And those principles, they're crucial for navigating, well, life, really.
Yeah.
But especially the ups and downs of the market. So let's unpack those a little bit, shall we?
Yeah, let's break down. So first up, being financially unbreakable. What does that even mean?
So at its core, it's about building that solid financial foundation, that strong base that can weather the storms, right?
Okay.
Because life, it throws storms at you. Job loss, unexpected expenses, your car breaking down, who knows, right? Even market downturns. So being financially unbreakable, it means you're prepared for it. You're living below your means. You've got that emergency fund stashed away. You're managing your debt responsibly.
Okay. So it's about creating that safety net for yourself, having that peace of mind, knowing that, okay, if something unexpected happens, I'm not going to completely, fall apart.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Now, leaving room for error.
Yeah.
That one's all about acknowledging that we can't predict the future, right? I mean, I know we keep saying it, but it's true. The best lead financial plans, they can still go off track. It happens. So you got to build in some wiggle room. You know what I'm saying?
Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say.
There you go. Exactly. And then finally, that sensible optimism. Again, it's about keeping that positive long-term outlook. But, and this is key, without ignoring any potential risks or challenges that might pop up along the way. It's about being real, being realistic, but not letting fear be the one calling all the shots.
Finding that sweet spot between hope and, prudence?
Exactly. Perfectly said.
All right, so we've talked about money mindsets. We've talked about budgeting like it's a road trip. We even dipped our toes into the investing pool. But, let's be real for a second. Money. It's not just about spreadsheets and interest rates and all that, right? It's about our dreams, our fears, those not in your stomach moments.
Yeah. Big time.
Right.
Money
It is
often represents something way deeper, security, freedom. For some people, it's even like validation. And when you start to really unpack those emotions, that's when you realize it's way more complicated than just whatever number is in your bank account.
It's so true. And sometimes those emotions, they can totally lead us down the wrong path.
Oh, for sure.
For me, fear is a big one. Fear of making a bad investment or losing everything. Fear of ending up, well, not like Ronald. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Fear is huge. It's so powerful. And often it's connected to that primal instinct to survive. When we feel like our financial well-being is being threatened, our brains, they go into overdrive. Alert, alert.
Yeah.
And that can lead to, well, not the best decisions, impulsive moves that we later regret.
So then how do we quiet that inner voice,
Yeah.
That one that just screams danger every time we even think about our finances?
I think awareness is step one.
Okay.
Just recognizing when fear is the one in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And then, gently taking the wheel back.
Okay, yeah.
Remind yourself that investing, actually this applies to most things in life, but
Yeah.
investing, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Long game.
Exactly. Those short-term ups and downs, totally normal.
Okay.
Having a plan helps too. That financial roadmap we were talking about. One that's tailored to you, what you want. That can really help quiet those fears.
It's like having a GPS, but for your money, right? You're driving in a new city, you've got your route, you might still hit traffic, there might be detours, but you're less likely to totally freak out and end up, on the wrong side of town.
Yeah, great analogy. A plan keeps you grounded, keeps you moving in the right direction,
Yeah.
even when things get a little bumpy.
Makes sense. Okay, so we talked about fear. What about the opposite end of the spectrum? Greed. That seductive whisper that's get rich quick, easy money.
Oh, yeah. Greed. The siren song of the financial world.
Dude,
Right?
it's so true. It's so easy to get caught up in the hype, especially these days with social media. Everybody's posting about their latest stock market win, and you're just
I got to get in on that.
right.
Exactly.
It's tempting, but that's when it's crucial to remember building wealth and keeping it. Two different ball games.
Right, right.
Building it. Okay, maybe you take some calculated risks, you're a little more bold. But preserving it, that's where discipline comes in. Patience. Tuning out all that noise.
It's like, you're running a race and you just got to stay focused on your own lane. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. 100%. Comparison, it'll steal your joy every time, just like we were talking about earlier. And speaking of joy stealers, can we talk about shame for a minute?
Ooh, shame. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Because it holds us back, right? Shame about our
Yeah.
finances, past money mistakes, even like the shame of just asking for help when we need it.
Shame is like that house guest that just won't leave. You know, they just overstay their welcome. And you're like, okay, I need some space.
Yes.
Yeah.
It keeps us feeling stuck, prevents us from moving forward, from reaching out and getting the support that we need.
So true.
And that's why it's so important to remember this. We are all on a journey here.
Mm-hmm.
There is absolutely zero shame in asking for help, in admitting that you don't have all the answers. If anything, that shows strength. It shows that you're ready to learn, to grow.
It's like, I don't know, learning a new dance or something, right?
Sure.
You're not going to like be amazing at it right off the bat. You need a good teacher, a little patience, and probably sense of humor because you're going to mess up.
Exactly. We all stumble. We all make mistakes. The key is to learn from those stumbles,
Yeah.
Get back up and keep dancing.
I like that. Okay, so to wrap things up, we've covered a ton of ground today. Psychological money hacks, budgeting roadmaps, how to not lose your cool when the stock market's doing its thing.
It's a lot.
It is, but listen, if there's like one big takeaway I hope everyone walks away with, it's this. Building wealth, true wealth, it's not just about, having a fat bank account.
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's about designing a life that is full of meaning and purpose. It's about using your resources to support the causes that matter to you, to pursue those passions, to make a difference in the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's what it's all about.
That is a definition of wealth that I can absolutely get behind. It's not about how much we have, but how we use it to enrich our lives and the lives of others.
100%. Well said.
So until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.